Welcome to the source. The source. Source. Hey, get the source.
Hey, greetings from Grimace Nation. And shout out, a special shout out to those of you that commented in the 8th inning, talking about how the Mets were dead, talking your shit. You guys are the best. You mushes out there that threw it down. I wasn't worried at all. This Grimace team just continues to defy odds, continue to prove everybody wrong. Not worried about this Philly series either. There's nothing threatening about that city, and there never has been. So we're going to cruise right through here. I don't want to see the Dodgers. As long as we don't see the Dodgers, I'll send you a postcard from the World Series. All right. Anyway, Toast is in the background talking shit because of the Padres, but they can't see you. But first, we got Chris on. We're talking WNBA playoffs. Then Toast is going to come on. We'll talk some MLB futures for a couple minutes. See if there's any World Series bets he's going to place, something like that. And then we'll get into college football tonight. And then Prop Beaver's got 3 bets in one NFL game. At the end, we're going to do that. So first up, WNBA playoffs. We got Minnesota. What's this series at, Chris?
It's 1-1.
1-1. I saw that it got evened out. So Minnesota is catching 2 on the road here. Does Connecticut finish this off? Or is this best of 5 or best of 7? I'm sorry.
Best of 5. So you got to.
This is it?
Yeah, well, no. Best of 5.
Oh, best of 5. I'm a moron.
Two more wins.
I've been watching the wild card series, man. I'm brain scrambled. So who takes game 3?
I didn't bet it, Kyle. So I'll start with that. But if I did bet it, it would be Minnesota. Connecticut is really, really good. They match up really well, and that's the thing that's keeping me away from betting Minnesota. Minnesota wants to shoot a bunch of threes. That's what they kind of pride themselves on, and they've struggled to do so after shooting lights out against Phoenix in the first round. The problem is Connecticut's been the best perimeter defense in the WNBA. So while this Connecticut offense can become stagnant, their 3-point defense is going to keep them in this one, in my opinion. But here's why I like Minnesota, because Minnesota in this row, if you just go back and look at the trends, they've been really, really good in this spot. 15-6 straight up, and against the spread on the road, which is the second best record behind only the New York Liberty. 5-0 straight up on the road in their last 5. 7-3 straight up against the number. 8-2 against the spread as a road dog. 7-3 straight up as a road dog. 8-2 against the number. So if they're taking points, you probably just want to take them. But I think that just watching the first 2 games, Connecticut has really kind of implemented a defensive scheme that's taken away what Minnesota wants to do. So I stayed away from the side. I stayed away from the total. Both games have gone under so far. The total so low at 150. I couldn't stomach taking this, and then it ends up in overtime and it ends up going over by a point or 2. So I stayed away from the side in the total in this one. I'll give the listeners a prop, which is Alyssa Thomas over her 23.5 points plus rebounds. AT is over in 3 of her 4 games in the playoffs so far this season, with the only loss coming against the Indiana Fever in game number 1, which was a blowout. She shot 6 for 15 in that game. And versus Minnesota so far this season, she's played them 5 times. She's over in 4 of the 5 meetings. She's coming off a game where she had 27 and 28 in the 2 games in Minnesota so far combined. And the reason why I like it, and it makes more sense outside of just looking at the numbers, is because, one, Bree Jones has been played off the floor. I think she had 18 minutes in game 1. I don't even think she got to 18 minutes in game 2. So Alyssa Thomas is really just playing the 5. She's going to be out there pretty much for every single minute of the game. And it also correlates with her having to score the ball more, which is what we've seen from playoff AT. If you watch how Minnesota's guarding her, they're just backing up, right? She's like Draymond. They just don't want her to facilitate, but then they get her charging at them towards the rim, and she ends up with a lot of easy buckets because you put yourself in foul trouble trying to guard her. So the points plus rebounds makes a ton of sense. I ended up playing that, Kyle, up and over 23.5 points plus assists for Alyssa Thomas. Points plus rebounds, not assists. I stayed away from assists.
Alyssa Thomas over 23.5 points and rebounds. Okay. And now we get to the, I would assume is the more publicized game because it's the rematch from last year's championship. What's this series at, Chris?
It's at 2-0 in favor of the Liberty.
Oh, wow. Okay. So is this the, do they do the 2-2? So is this the first game in Vegas?
First game in Vegas, yes.
Okay. So do they grab the home game here?
Yeah, I don't know. This is how I chose to bet it. I'm not sure what happens. I think, I gave out Liberty to win it all right before game 2 because I knew the odds would change a lot more. And it was minus 125 when I sent it out. It's like minus 200 everywhere now. I do think that no matter who wins that first series we just talked about, Minnesota and Connecticut, they're going to be beat up so bad that the Liberty are going to, probably have a little bit easier of a chance to take advantage, especially from a rest advantage standpoint as well. So, I just getting back into this game, the Liberty have proven they're a better team. They beat the Aces all 5 times that they played. And every single game that the Liberty have faced a back-to-back opponent, like any of those little 2-game baseball miniseries, they are 9-0 straight up in every single game. So while you never want to underestimate the heart of a champion, which the Aces are, they've won back-to-back championships, I think the Liberty have proven that they're a better team. And like I said, 5-0 straight up. But here's how I played it because I don't want to underestimate the heart of a champion. I took the Aces early, minus 1.5 in the first half, just to think that, it's a kitchen sink.
Wait. First half? Our graphic says first
quarter. First quarter. I'm sorry.
It is first quarter? Okay.
You can get a minus 2 in the first half if you want that one as well. I do think it correlates well. And they had the lead at the end of the first quarter in game number 2. And it's a kitchen sink game. Like if you lose this game, your season is over for one. You got to think coming off 2 back-to-back championships, even if they're not the better team, you'll get their best action early in this game. So that's how I chose to play the Aces here. Just thinking that they're not going to go out without a fight. I could see, Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson, everybody just throwing their best shot in this game. I don't think that they're the better team, but I do think that they can at least come out here and cash it early. I think if you like the Liberty, you get a much better number at halftime. And as the game kind of settle in, then you want to get on the Liberty because the Liberty, they're locked in and motivated. They lost to this team in game 4 last season and the Aces were down 2 starters. And they have not forgotten that, which is why every time they've seen the Aces so far, it's like a bull that's seeing red. They're 5-0 straight up. They're not playing any games with the Aces. So I'll respect the Aces. This line is moving to 3.5 and I really want to get there with the Liberty, but I'll see what happens after the halftime. Maybe end up playing it live, but I did play the Aces first quarter early.
So Aces first quarter, possibly Liberty live bet, depending. Maybe if you can get like a plus 8.5 live or something. I get it.
Absolutely.
All right. Chris, thanks for joining. That's his Twitter name right below. I'm sure most of you probably already know who Chris is, but for those of you who don't, that's his Twitter name right there below his face. He's tagged in the tweet. You'll be seeing a lot more of him in a few weeks. NBA coming up. So,
yes, sir. Appreciate you, Kyle.
Yeah, man. Have a good night.
Best of luck tonight, fellas.
All right, we're going to bring Toast on just for a few minutes. This is the only day off from the MLB playoffs, so this is a good time. Maybe lock in a World Series bet, maybe a NL champion, AL champion bet. Probably only AL champion because we all know who's winning the NL. So first off, actually real quick, because this just happened, haven't even talked to you about this. What are your thoughts on Senga starting tomorrow? That was not what anyone was expecting.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna get a little bit more information as more time comes away from it. But this had to be the plan. Like, I understand that you would assume that they start him in the wild card series, but you have to assume that they had a plan to get him ready to this point. I don't think that he's gonna go out there and pitch 6 or 7 innings. I don't think that at all. But no way. I think that Andy said it earlier today too. I think that if you can get him to go at least one time through that lineup, and then get David Peterson to piggyback off that and then work your way through, I think you're going to – there's definitely a path to victory there. So I also think that some of the guys that have, pitched over in Japan and stuff like that, they don't have the same wear and tear on their body that a lot of these American pitchers are. They're not throwing 100 miles an hour all the time, every single time they go out there and pitch. So the idea that he does go out, again, I don't think it's going to be 6 or 7, but if he pitched 4, I don't think that that's that crazy to think. Because keep in mind, the Phillies are good and it's Citizen Bank ballpark and it's going to be rocking in there. There's no question about that. But I'm not making a joke. It is Grimace. And this team just does not stop. And again, you can make all the jokes in the world. And I know that Kyle will and I will and whatnot. But when it on 100%, like, this team continues to find ways to win baseball games. Doesn't matter if they're down 2 runs in the 9th inning in the wild card game or whatever, or the series in Atlanta. This team just does not stop. So again, you have a Phillies team, again, that's good, but they're not They're not nearly playing as well as the Mets are right now, and they're definitely not as hot. They've been sitting around for a week or so, so you can only do so much in simulated games. So I only think this is an advantage to the Mets, and I'm not just saying that. I could really care less. I mean, I'll be betting this series, but you guys know I'm a Padres fan, so I do think that this is a huge advantage to the Mets because, again, he hasn't pitched very much this year, so you can make the case, yeah, he's not stretched out, and that's 100% true. But it also means that he's fresh. So if he's going out there, if he's going to give you 4 innings every 5 days, that's a huge win for the Mets. That's a huge win for the Mets.
Yeah. Do you think there's any value on the one I was looking at? Just because they're so good at winning games late. Cleveland to win the AL at plus 330. That's the one I was looking at.
Yeah, so I would do. I think I honestly, and I know that you guys think I know I'm like the Yankees hater and whatnot. I just since the beginning of the year, I haven't thought that this team is very good.
You're talking about Cleveland?
No, I'm talking about the Yankees making your case for Cleveland.
Well, the Yankees are plus 105, so they're the heavy favorite, and then Cleveland's plus 330.
And I just think that that's just an absolute insane number if it's the Yankees. So it's the only way to look at Cleveland. And again, Cleveland has such a huge bullpen advantage. It's not even funny. If they were to play the Yankees. And again, I don't even know if the Yankees make it past the Royals. So I know that I haven't looked at all the sports books, but I know like DraftKings and FanDuel has like ones where you can pick like the Yankees or the Royals to go farther than the Mets or like all these little things. And you'll get a lot of them at like plus 400 and stuff like that.
That's mine.
I think that.
AJ.
What's that?
No, he put Cleveland to win AL under. That's me.
I think that there's definitely some value in that. I mean, you can look at teams like the Royals. It's not going to be. I really don't think it's going to be the Yankees or the Dodgers and whatnot. I think that the Yankees and the Dodgers have so many issues in the bullpen that it's going to be really hard for them to win games consistently, and especially with the Yankees, considering the fact that their starting pitching is mid at best. I know a lot of people like Garrett Cole, and I will give him that. But are you really willing to trust Carlos Rondon at this point in his career? I mean, what we've seen from this year, I'm not. And the Yankees have a lot of holes in that bullpen, like a lot of holes. Like I trust Tommy. Tommy's good with me, but everybody else, Luke Weaver's a really good story. I will give him that. A 2.89 ERA. He pumps a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Like, he's been very good for them. He's one of those guys that's a closer on the rise, as they call it. But at the same time, there's a big difference, I think, between closing games in an AL East that they've pretty much had wrapped up for a month or two. Especially the way that Baltimore finished the year. So I just think that that's a huge difference, closing out those type of games and now coming in to close out these type of games. And again, give the Royals credit. I know that Baltimore sucks. But they didn't let Baltimore score at all. And so now you have a guy like Michael Wacha coming in. I already bet the Royals in game one because I honestly don't think that the pitching advantage between Cole and Michael Wacha is that big. Yes, obviously the Yankees have a starting pitching advantage with Garrett Cole, but as far as everything else in this series, I don't really think it's that. I don't really expect Michael Wacha to be able to go out there and get absolutely throttled, but again, by a Yankees team that I just talked about, the Phillies, that have been sitting around for the last couple of days. And if the Yankees are one team that we know, because almost everybody watches the Yankees, they're very streaky. They can look very, very good for weeks at a time, and they can look very, very bad for weeks at a time. So I think that you focus on the underdogs, especially as a whole, rather than focus on these favorites and then play it out. Because as we've seen, Houston was 7 straight ALCSs and they just get swept by the Tigers. So I think that you focus on the underdogs, and if you want to play, I know a lot of people like the exact things where you can play like the Royals to play the Dodgers or the Yankees to play the Dodgers.
I never liked those.
Yeah, so those are like huge plus prices, and it's going to be, like really big. So if you want to play a couple of those where you can play like the Royals, or I think Cleveland, I think Kyle's right with Cleveland, especially with the way that the Cleveland's bullpen, they have a really significant advantage. I'm a little bit disappointed in Cleveland. Bibby's just been so bad in Cleveland, and we saw the Phillies. Aaron Nola is not going to start game 2. Christopher Sanchez is going to start game 2. Why? Because Christopher Sanchez has been fantastic at home and crap on the road. So for me, I get that Bibby's your best guy and that waiting until game 3 is probably really hard to do that. But man, it really, I mean, again, you have a Cleveland team that I don't even know gets past Detroit personally. But again, we'll see. But again, I think that you're focused on underdogs and you're going to be okay because you're going to have these big plus prices and you can play 2 or 3 of those teams and be all right. But
right.
I will say also, this is not me being a homer. If you wanted to play Tatis props, Tatis to lead the playoffs in hits or anything like that, I really think that I really think that's a good bet. Fernando Tatis in his postseason career, 393 average, 11 hits, 3 home runs. He is more locked in right now than I have ever seen him in my life. For him to lead, let's see, the playoffs and hits, I just had it. It's like plus like 1,400 or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. When he's doing things like getting a lead, like in that first inning of the first game or the second game, when they didn't score off of Fried, when he got that lead and he went into second, and because he got that huge lead, they didn't get him at second. He's so locked in right now, it's not even funny, and he's been hitting singles and stuff like that. Again, I think that you're seeing a different level of Fernando Tatis right now, and it's going to be really, really fun to watch. Fernando Tatis to lead just the series against the Dodgers is plus 700 in hits. And just for everybody to know, Arise, Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado all have better odds to lead that series in hits. Some of that has to do with the fact that the Padres are going to start the first 2 games on the road, so they're going to get a little bit more at bats. Arise and Jackson Merrill, and I'm not just saying that because Jackson Merrill is my guy. I mean, Jackson Merrill's plus 650, Shohei Ohtani's plus 850. I really think that the Padres have a lot to play for right now as far as value betting them. So I don't want to say betting them to win the World Series, but I know that you guys think I'm a homer, and I am, but with that bullpen and that starting pitching, I think the Padres, because everybody's going to be loving to bet the Dodgers with Ohtani in his first playoff and all that. If you look at all these series props and stuff like that, it's all shaded towards the Padres and their players, and it can't just be because they're going to be the road team for the first couple games. So that's my piece.
Dodgers in 4. All right, let's talk college football. Me and Toast will record something tonight for Saturday's games, by the way. So we'll have something up.
Yep. Have a good night, guys.
Let them. All right, let's talk some college football. We got 4 games tonight. Let's bring the Jamokes on the screen. Bring a couple of Jadruls. Here's little Drew. If you guys are wondering why his name always says that, it's because Prop Beaver sets the screen up.
And because I just don't care enough.
Little Drew. All right. So we're talking. We got 4 college football games tonight. Not the most exciting games in terms of the point spread, but there are a couple of matchups that I think are going to be fun to watch. Really excited to see what Aiden Childs is able to do in Eugene. Keep in mind, when you're dealing with a freshman quarterback with that kind of talent, it's not something where you can make a judgment based on a couple weeks. He's going to develop, right? You probably shouldn't even make a judgment based on this whole season. So I don't know. I don't think it's unrealistic that he's able to make plays. But first up, Jacksonville State on the road at Kennesaw State. Look, do you believe this Huff? I mean, Huff is the quarterback for Jacksonville State. Took over for Logan Smothers. He's actually been throwing the ball a little bit the last couple weeks. If you believe in this kid Huff, and I'm not going to pretend to know a ton about him. I don't. I didn't even know he was going to be the quarterback. Like I said, I thought it was going to be Logan Smothers this season. So if you believe in this quarterback for Jacksonville State and you believe that they can throw the ball efficiently and you think that's something that's going to be sustainable, then I could see laying the 16.5 here. But other than that, there's only one aspect of this Kennesaw State team. This is based on what I can see on the data that I've been given. There's only one aspect of the Kennesaw State team that belongs at the FBS level, and it's the run defense. They've actually done a decent job defending the run. So I don't Jacksonville State, by the way, this isn't their rushing attack from last year. Zion Webb's gone. They're not running the ball with the same efficiency. So if you trust this kid Huff and you trust Jacksonville State to throw the ball on Kennesaw State, then yeah, I can see laying the 16.5. But for me, it would only be the other way. Kennesaw State plus 16.5. I don't think Jacksonville State's very good. So you can get a 17. I didn't bet this, but that's the only way I'd go here.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel the same way. I can't. I don't want to bet minus 16.5, minus 17 with Jacksonville State. I don't think they're that good of a football team. But Kennesaw State has been, like you'd expect, they're an FCS school playing at FBS level right now. I mean, they haven't had the opportunity to build their team. This isn't necessarily like Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State was like historically a really, really good FCS school, and they were getting better year after year, and then they went to FBS. Kennesaw State was one of the most mediocre FCS schools last year. They just played UT Martin at home. UT Martin's an FCS school. They lost to them. They're very bad. There's no question. My expectation would be that they would play this one. They'd be getting beaten very badly the entire game and then maybe cover at the end. That's why I'm not going to bet it. But like if I was leaning somewhere, I'd lean Kennesaw State because I do think they're not quite getting embarrassed as much as I thought they would be. Like, yeah, losing to an FCS school is bad, but in the other games they've been at least somewhat competitive. They're not losing every game by 30 or 40. Like they've been against UTSA, they were half decent. Granted, that's a bad school.
That's a bad team.
It's a bad team, but again, like Jacksonville State's not that good of a team. Yeah. They should have beaten Eastern Michigan. I had their money line. I was so excited. They were on the 2-yard line in overtime. For first and goal, they had 3 chances to get in, and the first snap they threw the ball 30 yards, a bad snap, and they lost that game in overtime. Like they're a bad team as well. So I'm not taking a bad football team to cover 17 points, even though the team on the other side is very bad as well. So I'm just leaning Kennesaw State here, but I'm not betting.
Too Legit says this game is sewer water. Dive in. Scoop.
Yeah, had a good day yesterday, and also the reason why I shaved is I have a wedding tomorrow, and my mom's Italian, and she's like the typical New York, New Jersey Italian. It's like, "Affangulo, you don't need to shave your face. You're ugly." Or she calls me ugly or something like that. So, I don't think this helps any, but
she's not wrong.
It makes her happier that I have a clean face. So, yeah. So I don't know if this is I guess I was going to say a get-right game for Jacksonville State, but that might have been against the Southern Miss team at home. I don't have much to say here. Kennesaw State's a miserable football team, and it's their first Conference USA game and at home, so there's going to be, I guess, some kind of pageantry there. But they did lose 11 to an FCS school and hasn't scored more than 16 points all year. I think Jacksonville State should roll, even though they suck. The spread's weird. I'm not touching the game, so...
Next. Houston, TCU. Man, Houston. I could go on a tangent about Houston right now. So last week, I took Houston plus 16 against Iowa State. And the handicap behind that, my reasoning for that was, guys, this Houston defense is pretty good. Iowa State's going to struggle to move the ball. They shouldn't be laying 16 on the road. Well, it's not that the handicap was that far off. Iowa State finished the game with 20 points. Want to know how they got to 20? They broke a 77-yard run with just a few minutes left in the game. It was 13-0. Unreal. Houston couldn't score a point. Now, granted, that's kind of the main factor here. Houston couldn't score a point. In fact, they've been shut out back-to-back weeks. Last week, it's against Iowa State. It's one of the best defenses in the country. Certainly a top 10, top 15 defense. Iowa State's defense is very good. That does not describe TCU at all. Sonny Dykes' TCU team is not really branded for its defense, although I do say I think they're slightly better this year than in years past. Still not a good defense. What'd they put up against SMU? 45 points? They still lost by 17. What'd they lose? 62-45? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, TCU could score. They're not really known for playing much defense here, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Houston's going to score some points in this game. We have seen the run game show up sporadically here and there. Maybe Donovan Smith comes out a little motivated because they announced that he'd be splitting snaps, that it's now a quarterback competition for the job, and he's no longer the official starting quarterback. Now, college football coaches make announcements all the time that don't turn out to mean shit, so maybe he just said that, but maybe Donovan Smith comes out a little motivated. If you're looking for a bet in this game, I haven't placed this one. I bet the next game. Houston team total over 16.5. There's no graphic. I like Houston team total over 16.5. A team's team total to be at 16.5 against TCU is wild. Their defense isn't very good, and on top of their defense not being very good, they play some of the fastest paced football in the country, and all they do is throw the ball. So passing. So even if Josh Hoover is going to come out and completely cook Houston's secondary, which I don't think is actually going to happen because Houston's defense is respectable, but even if that happens, we could still hit this just by the sheer fact of Houston's going to get so many possessions. They're going to get the ball so many times because TCU moves so quickly. So that's the way I'd go. Houston team total over 16.5. I think I'm going to put this as one of my league picks, to be honest. By the way, if you're submitting picks for the league, get it in within the next 2 hours. Andy?
That was exactly what I was thinking. So I didn't want to bet either side because I don't, like you said, I don't trust TCU to cover this margin. Because, like you said, they don't play very good defense. But also, I don't know how good Houston's defense actually is against the pass. Like, the numbers...
It's pretty good.
Wait. The numbers tell me they're good. The problem is the quarterbacks they've seen aren't good.
What are you talking about? Rocco Beck's a beast.
Rocco Beck's good, but they don't lean on him to do a lot. The only team that they've faced that really leans on their quarterback that wasn't Rice, right? Rice has been awful. E.J. Warner's been awful. The only team was Sorsby at Cincinnati. They tore them up. So, like, I don't actually
That's
know
a weird data point. That game was over before it started.
I understand. And it was really quick. So, I don't really know how to feel about their defense. So, I was just going to go with, I think there's going to be a lot of possessions in this game. So, I was either going to lean over or Houston because, obviously, I don't really know how good TCU's defense is. Or I really don't know how to gauge how much Josh Hoover and TCU are going to be doing. I think Houston's defense might be pretty good. So, Houston's going to get the ball a lot. They're coming off back-to-back games where they didn't score. So, my expectation is they're going to have a really good offensive game plan. Donovan Smith played terribly in this game last year. This is a bounce-back spot for him both last year and in the games this year. He hasn't played well. Bounce back spot for him. I think they're going to score a decent amount tonight. So I think Houston will score. Haven't bet it yet, but my lean would be Houston on both ways. It would be either the spread or their team total because I really do think they're going to get a lot of possessions here because TCU, they only throw the ball. The clock's going to be stopped a lot in this game. So either over or Houston.
Scoop.
Yeah, I bet this. I like Houston.
Wow.
I know Houston might have a worse offense than Kennesaw State, but I mean, they had back-to-back games getting blanked against Cincy and Iowa State. They have a decent defense, but man, Donovan Smith is just really bad. I'm glad that he might not take snaps. They should just give it to Snead 45 times a game to have any semblance of an offense, but and I've been seeing Donovan Smith is going to get drafted, like, as what, a tight end? I don't understand. But, yeah, 15 and a half, 16 and a half is a lot. I know Hoover's been great. Their offense runs through them. You have to think this team won't be shut out for a third consecutive game. Plus, it's not like TCU's, like, world beaters, especially defensively. They gave up 66 to SMU, 27 to Kansas, 35 to UCF. I think even Houston can score, if not 16 and a half, they're at least going to score 13 or 14 points. They're going to be able to cover here. I know it's a tall ask, but like you said, the team total is 16.5. It's not like I'm far off. Their defense is 27th in total defense. They can definitely force a few 3-and-outs, and even though Sonny Dykes will want to get out to an early lead, I don't know if TCU has a defense to actually compete with Houston, which is the most crazy thing I think I've ever seen or said. I think this is kind of like a 27-17 type of win for TCU. Plus, if you watch, TCU's made some dumb plays, especially in that Kansas game. So, yeah, I like Houston in the points here.
All right, so we're on to the next game. I can't believe we're all on Houston. Next up is Michigan State, Oregon. Andy, true or false? Your boys are about to make plays in Eugene.
He is. I think this is going to be. Look, I won't say that he's been good. But he hasn't been as bad as people think he has been. Look, he's putting the ball in danger. Freshmen do that. Young guys do that. He's putting the ball in danger a lot.
In his 2 road games, he's averaging 3 interceptions a game.
Yeah, no, dude. Putting the ball in danger is the way I put it. He's been throwing the ball.
And he's dangerous. So.
But when he's on a roll, and most of those games were at home. The Maryland game, I know he threw a lot of interceptions, but when he was hitting his receivers, they were deep throws. He goes crazy. There's no doubt. Jonathan Smith has given him the keys and just letting him do whatever he wants here. And now they're getting a top receiver back. One of their young receivers from last year or early this year is now healthy and back, and that's a big add for them. They needed him back. So the offense I think is going to be good. I know your bet I agree with, but I would side Michigan State here. I think they'll keep it within 3 touchdowns. Late in the game, maybe Oregon takes their foot off the gas, and Aiden Childs is still in there doing what he does, which is just heave the ball down the field, maybe get a couple of field goals and keep this close. I think Oregon can kind of sleep toward the end of this game, and we can get a backdoor cover at worst. I think this Michigan State offense has a lot of talent, and they're going to continuously get better as the season goes on. I really wish I'd pull the upset because I'm now afraid that I'm not going to get my team total their wins over because they lost to Boston College. But their offense is going to be fun. They look good in the first half against Ohio State too. I know you're about to mention that. I think he was like, I want to say 11 for 13 in the first half with 143 yards, and then they didn't do anything in the second half. But that's Ohio State's defense. So,
So to add on to what you said on the Michigan State side, I am not on Michigan State. I bet the over. The market's against that. It's been moving down. I actually see a 51.5 now. I bet it at 52. So the market's against me, but you know what? The market was against me on my Falcons-Bucks over last night, and that was the most sweat-free shit I've ever been a part of. Shit damn near cash in the first quarter. So yeah, no, I'm making a joke. Obviously, I prefer the market isn't moving against me. I'm not saying I don't care. I prefer it wasn't like that. But yeah, I'm on the over here. And to what Andy said, to add on to it, about Aiden Childs making plays on the road here at Eugene. You look at the numbers, and it looks like, yeah, Oregon has one of the best pass defenses in the FBS, right? It's like 5th in this, 6th in this, 4th in this. They're like elite pass defense numbers. What quarterbacks have they seen? I'm not saying they haven't seen anybody. They saw Boise State. They're not. I don't know if you're familiar with the Boise State football team. They're not powered by their quarterback. Their running back averages about 350 rushing yards a game. So it's not really a dangerous quarterback. I mean, Oregon State, UCLA, Idaho. Childs is going to be the most talented quarterback they've seen so far this year. So he comes in here getting his wide receiver back from injury, as Andy said. Maybe he's able to catch the Oregon defense off guard, make a few plays. He's certainly an athlete. The way I see, as far as my bet goes, the over, the way I see this game going is either one of two paths. What we're going to see is Aiden Childs playing hero ball here because, like Andy said, Jonathan Smith has made it clear they're giving Childs the keys. They're letting him go for it. They are not playing this conservative. So we're either going to see path A, Childs is the man and is able to play Oregon tough, and they're going to go shot for shot here, and Childs is going to be making plays, running around the field, looking like Johnny Manziel. Or path B, Childs is going to throw 4 pick sixes. And in my opinion, both path A and path B lead to points. So I thought the over was the safest play there because the two ways I see this game going both lead to points. That's the way I made logical sense of it. But yeah, I'm on the over. I did bet this. I am on the over here. Scoop?
I disagree of how they're going to cover, but I like Michigan State here. I guess this is a fair spread. Michigan State can hang with average teams like Boston College, Maryland. I know it's entirely different going against, especially going to Eugene against the Ducks. It looks like they brushed off their first 2 games, really stepped it up against Oregon State and UCLA, especially defensively. I obviously can't trust Aiden Childs to do anything here. He has 8 picks, 3rd worst in the country. So I think defense is how they're going to have to cover the spread. They're okay defensively. Obviously, Gable needs to keep his 80% completion percentage up, but I actually don't think Oregon's going to score a lot here. Their drives are usually 5 minutes or less, but they also have some drives that stall out. And really, I don't see Michigan State doing much of anything offensively. I don't think they can score more than 13, 14 points, especially with an defensive line like Birch and Harmon. But also Michigan State's offense is mostly due to the ground game. So if they pick up some first downs, it'll keep the clock moving. This game, I could see Oregon scoring maybe around 30, 35, but like I said, Michigan State won't be putting up many points at all. So I like the under, but I actually like Michigan State more. This could be a look-ahead spot for Oregon with Ohio State on deck too. So
the under.
That look-ahead spot got to me.
Just a man who likes props here. I know Andy was on Aiden Childs.
Your mic's really low right now. Your mic's really low.
I like when he talks like this, though.
Okay, I was on Aiden. Andy was on Aiden Childs, 200-plus passing yards last week. It's plus 150 this week against Oregon.
He actually said, Andy said yesterday in the office, he goes, I'm going to keep betting Aiden Child's passing prop until it hits.
I didn't mention that. I might bet that right before the game. A good point. The same reasoning I had last week against Ohio State was they were going to be getting blown out, right? And I thought, oh, they would 100% just let him just heave the ball down the field when they're getting blown out. They didn't do that. Like in the second half, he was so bad early. They just started running the ball and letting the game end. They kind of gave up. And then they took him out with 2 drives left to go. He was so good in the first half. I thought that was a free cash. That's the only fear I have is like, why did Jonathan Smith do that last week against Ohio State? Why did he kind of just give in? Like, is he going to be that type of coach?
Either.
He's a young quarterback. Maybe he just doesn't want him to get hurt. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want him to, I don't know, have a bad performance. I mean, he's had bad performances and they're still letting him go crazy. Yeah, that's the only reason that I didn't give that out is because I don't know why Jonathan Smith did that. And I don't know that he's not going to do it again.
By the way, some people in the comments have mentioned that it's a look-ahead spot for Oregon, and some people were saying this in the comments last night. I mean, you're not wrong. Oregon does have Ohio State on deck, but, I mean, maybe if this was if they were playing Hawaii or perhaps a
basically the same.
Yeah, I don't think Michigan State is that sad of a program where it's going to be a 40-point game in the third quarter. I don't think Michigan State's that on that level where you look, maybe Oregon does pull the starters real late, but I mean, we're talking about a 23.5 point line. We're not talking about like a 37 point line. So if it's a 24 point game in the third quarter, that game's not over yet. So I don't know how much that comes into play. This is a conference game, and
their first home Big Ten game. I don't think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this is
show me a Michigan State money line ticket. I'll be happy.
So that's exactly, Andy. It's their first home Big Ten game. This is a relatively big game. Sure, the Ohio State game next week is bigger, but this isn't like it's not like they're playing a Mountain West team. It's not like they're playing Middle Tennessee. It's Michigan State. It's a Sparty. So all right, let's go on to the next one. Not to mention Friday night in Eugene. Like I don't know. All right, Syracuse, UNLV. You guys can take the mic on this one. I don't know how you step in front of UNLV right now. That being said, I still am having trouble trusting the UNLV defense on the level it's being valued. I was wrong last week. I took Fresno State. Wasn't even close. UNLV beat the life from Fresno State last week. Mikey Keene couldn't do anything. I know if you look at a stat line, it looks okay. Most of that was in garbage time. They were down like 40 points. So he couldn't do anything when the game was still a game. So this UNLV defense, like, is this a top 15 defense? I know that sounds crazy, but that's the way they look so far, and that's the way they're being priced. Is UNLV a top 15 defense now? I really don't know. I just know that offense cannot be stopped. So right now. So, Scoop, do you have anything for this one?
Yeah, I'm not buying. I think this is an overreaction, personally. I know people are taking UNLV. Sloop is holding this team back. Williams looked unbelievable. He looked great on the air, on the ground. But I still think, that's against Fresno State. So Syracuse defense has been good. And I know people are saying, well, nothing else changed with their personnel. But it actually opened up their offense more. I still think Syracuse is a great defensive team. And like you said, UNLV is a top 10 ranked defense right now. Williams lit it up, but that was that wasn't against a Syracuse team that's 29th in EPA per pass. I think there's going to be some pressure at home this week, especially since it's the first time they're ranked. They're 25th. It's the first time they're ranked since 1978. So I haven't been alive. Listen, McCord has the most passing yards in the league, and really they do have the more talented roster. So even if they trail, I think they throw the ball to get into this. I would love if this reached sevens, but it looks like it's going the other way, so it's probably not going to happen. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to take Syracuse. I just think they're a better team, and I think that this price is a little too high for UNLV.
I mean, I agree with mostly everything he said.
I disagree with one thing.
What part?
Syracuse has a good defense. They've had a good pass.
Yeah, I disagree with that as well.
Pass defense. On the defensive rushing, which is Again, UNLV really only wants to run the ball.
Well, who knows what Williams is going to do?
hold on.
It's in one game. You don't know.
Hold on. How do they have a good pass defense? They haven't seen
I was about to say that. This is the thing. I want to finish what I was saying. They've had a good pass defense. They have faced a quarterback near the level of what we saw from Malik Willis. But forget that for a second, all right?
You don't know. How do you know he's good?
Wait a minute. Let's just forget.
Sorry, I apologize.
This is solely because the number one thing we said about Syracuse coming into the year, this team will not be able to stop the run. They weren't able to do it last year. This front is just all new. They can't stop the run. They've given up 6.5 yards per carry to Ohio, 4.7 yards per carry to a balanced. Now all of a sudden they're a balanced offense in Georgia Tech, so they're not running the ball nearly as well as they used to. But they still got 4.7 yards per carry. And then Stanford 5.4 yards per carry. Now you're facing the team that literally is known for only wanting to run the ball, only running the ball. The go-go offense, all they want to do is run. They're going to run all over them at home. The line's moving the other way, which I love because I'm on UNLV. Everybody else is betting Syracuse now. I don't know. I don't understand why. Maybe I missed
that. Everyone's betting Syracuse.
Yeah,
I think.
Plus, they're 4.7 against Georgia Tech because the quarterback ran for 11 average.
Okay, what do you think Malik Willis?
What do you think Malik Willis?
Oh my God, I can't, Andy.
Hold on, but if your point is, the quarterback did most of the running. Okay, this quarterback's fast
you
as shit.
have one game with Williams. One. Calm down.
He looked like the man.
Against Fresno State.
Fresno State probably has a better defense than Syracuse.
No, they don't.
It's close. It's close.
Oh my God.
Against the run, yeah, probably. They shut down Michigan pretty well, and that's a pretty damn good run defense. Like. And I said this last week. There's a reason that everybody in that locker room felt good about having Malik Williams. I called him Malik Willis. Malik Williams. There's a reason everybody felt good about it. They thought he was the better option. And obviously, I know it was only one game, but it was a home game against a conference rival who has a half-decent defense. And they made them look like a junior varsity football team. That game was over. It took a little while. It was in the second quarter. They went crazy. But as soon as UNLV got into a rhythm, it was over in the blink of an eye.
Fresno State also gave up 30 to Sacramento State, so let's take it easy.
Now you have Syracuse. Now you have Syracuse going on the road against UNLV. Tough, a weird environment. They're going across the country like that. For their first road game of the season, they've played 4 home games. Now this is their first road game. It's on the road Friday night in Vegas against a team, you said, since 1978 they haven't been ranked. Their energy has never been higher at UNLV. So I just think they're going to get punched in the mouth. I think that it's going to be it might take a little while, but I think it'll be UNLV.
Syracuse money line.
You know what? I'm down to throw a bet down. Your guys' argument got me fired up and wants me. Although I think Andy was right on most of the points in the argument. I mean, to be like, on Fresno State, the Fresno State defense is comparable to Syracuse, but
not even close.
Okay. Give me the over at 55.5. Fireworks. This UNLV team, run and gun, right? Well, what I think about Kyle McCord is this. First 2 games of the season, he looked very, very good. In fact, the first half of that Georgia Tech game, I was like, holy shit, what's the odds on McCord to win the Heisman? Like, he was fucking throwing bullets out there. Since then, he's fallen off a little bit, but it's more making mistakes, missing guys. In my opinion, what we're going to see from Kyle McCord is either big plays or big mistakes, which result in points.
He did have 2 interceptions against Holy Cross last week. So.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. His last 2 games, he's been making mistakes, and I think if UNLV is going to score on these drives, which I think they're going to. Syracuse struggles to get the run. This UNLV offense is crazy looking. I'm sure they're going to score and put Syracuse in position where, like, okay, this team's scoring. We need to score back. That means McCord's going to be dropping back and trying to make plays. He's either going to make them or we're going to see him continue to make big mistakes, which, in my opinion, result for more points for UNLV. So I'll go over. If you want me to pick a side, I kind of side with Andy. I'm loving these Rebels. Don't put it up, though. My pick for the game is the over. I think UNLV beats them up, man. This team's real. So that's how I feel about this one.
They're going to the playoff, this team.
Relax, bro.
They're going to the playoff.
They're not winning the Mountain West.
God damn it. I was on Andy's side of the argument until that.
Just one more thing about the running game for UNLV. They had 6.7 yards per carry last week. That was against Fresno State, 60th in effective rush. Syracuse is 122nd in effective rush. So I think, look, I know college football is not transactional. Just because you do it against one team doesn't mean you're going to do it against the other. But it sets up pretty well for them to just be able to run the ball. And that'll open up the pass, which Malik Williams looked amazing with the pass too. So I just think there's going to be a lot they're going to be able to get. So
let me tell you something, though. If UNLV wins this game, they have one more tough one, I think. They have to beat
They have Boise State.
Well, that's what I'm still. No, I'm saying before that. If we go into UNLV Boise State in I think that's week 8, and these two teams are 6-0, that game will be fucking. Oh, I might fly out to Vegas for that game.
It'll probably.
Well, they're gonna be. I think they'll beat Oregon State before that, and they play Utah State.
That's the game. They'll beat Utah State, but Oregon State in Corvallis. Oregon State and Corvallis is tough. If UNLV is able to get past this one and that one. And Boise State will be undefeated. They play nobody. They're going to that Boise State game. Both teams undefeated in Vegas. That'd be a fucking game to see, man.
You guys had a great UTEP bet, by the way, last night. Just want to let you know.
We almost snuck a backdoor cover there. I don't know if you were watching.
You did, actually.
Yeah, we did, bro. McConnell started slinging the ball in the third quarter. Like, where the fuck was this?
Yeah, you wanted to do that earlier.
All right, let's talk NFL. Scoop, Andy, enjoy your night. Andy, you guys are going to be ready for the morning, right? 10 a.m.?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
10 a.m. live show. We'll go through. I think we got like 29 games lined up for tomorrow. So, all right. Prop Beaver's going to come on. We're going to talk about Browns, Commanders, and Prop Beaver's going to talk about, I think he's got three props for this game. So Prop Beaver is going to share his wisdom on the Browns Commanders game.
Really excited about this matchup, guys. Hard not to be. I mean, you see a team like this.
Your mic's low again.
You want to start us off, Chief?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I don't have a bet on the game, but I can tell you pretty comfortably that the only way I'm looking is Cleveland plus 3.5. And I know that sounds crazy. I kind of want to see what the poll says for this one, too. Is everyone taking the Commanders?
I'll get it up shortly.
So to me, the lead story, the headline for this game between Browns Commanders is the Cleveland offensive line. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. The Browns have had 9 different offensive linemen see, I think it's 13 plus snaps this year. 9 different offensive linemen for the Browns have seen have seen the field for at least a couple drives. 9. Not one of them was named Conklin. Not one of them is named Jack Conklin. So 9 different offensive linemen have seen the field for the Browns. None of them are their best offensive linemen. And Jedrick Wills has only seen a couple dozen snaps, a half of a game. So the Browns have been playing musical chairs with their offensive line, and we still haven't seen them with their 2 best pieces, both their tackles. And also their center was banged up and missed a lot of last week as well, Pocic. This week, Wills, Conklin, Pocic, all returned to practice, all hopeful that they're going to play. Now, let's not pretend that they haven't been hopeful to play before and haven't. We've seen it before. So I'm not saying, they released a report saying Conklin's hopeful to play. We're good to go. We've seen that before, and then he still doesn't play. But plain and simple, if all 3 of those guys are on the field, both tackles in the center, throw all the offensive metrics we have for Cleveland out because it's going to look completely different. It's going to look a lot better. Those are 2 really good. In fact, when they're healthy, they might be top 5 in the NFL as far as starting offensive tackles. They're very good. The weakness of this Browns offense all year has been the offensive line. They're creating no space in the run game. Deshaun Watson is the most pressured quarterback in the NFL by a mile. So if you throw those 2 tackles and a healthy center back in there against a Washington defensive front that sucks, I mean, it's one of the worst in football, the Browns are going to move the ball. They're going to run the ball. Deshaun Watson, if he has time, he's still capable of making some throws. Granted, he's not what he used to be. It's going to be Cleveland here for me. I didn't place this bet. I didn't see any reason to put any money down, especially before I knew anything definitive about the Cleveland offensive line. But if Cleveland's coming into this game with a healthy offensive line, let's do it. Jaden Daniels' magic can't last forever. Maybe Myles Garrett is the one to force him to start making mistakes. So this is the only way I'd go here. But actually, the reason we're talking about this game is Prop Beaver's props.
Yeah. So first one, Amari Cooper over 51.5 receiving yards. Now you may be saying, sir, why? I mean, why on earth are we betting Amari Cooper? This guy's absolutely sucked thus far. Under 3 or 4 games, he's averaging an abysmal 37 yards per game, 4 receptions. But the real reason we're betting him still is the targets. I mean, he's still getting 9.3 targets per game, so the volume share is off the charts. And while many people can blame the passes from Deshaun Watson being off targets, the dude just needs to still catch the ball. I mean, he has 7 drops in his last 3 games, and I just know that Amari Cooper is not this trash. And with the opportunity, with this matchup, this line should be much higher here. Before the season, Cooper was 19-4 to the over with 8+ targets. He's had 8+ targets in all 4 of his matchups thus far, averaging 92 yards per game. On top of that, last week he had an 80-yard touchdown call back due to a penalty. So the man is criminally due here. Now he's going to face a Commanders secondary that is not only one of the worst in football, but has allowed 31 receivers to hit 52+ receiving yards in the previous 19 games before Marvin Harrison Jr. was held to 45 yards. That's more than 1 receiver per game to accomplish that feat. And a receiver has hit 50+ yards in each of those games, with the leading receiver going on to average 113 yards per game. So just tons of value there. As an MHJ better last week, he would have hit that line if the Cardinals had any desire to not roll over and die in the 4th quarter. But that just wasn't the case. Kyler had 22 pass attempts in that game, and the Cardinals lost by 28 points. So that just made no sense. And speaking of, I'm doubling down in terms of my fade of this Commanders pass defense. And I'm taking Deshaun Watson. Yes, Mr. Deshaun over 1.5 pass TDs. That's coming in at plus 170. Now, is this the sexiest play? No, I mean, he's only 5-7 to the over in his last 12 games. He's missed 5 straight on the road. But guess what? He had 3 the last time he faced the Commanders, and he had 3 his last time at Washington, and that was in 2023 as well. So it's not that long ago. Obviously, it was the 2022-2023 season, not the 2023-2024 season. But yeah, I mean, it's not that long ago that he accomplished this against this Commanders defense, and this Commanders defense is still quite bad. I don't think one game against Kyler Murray, who I've shat on quite a bit, is really going to convince me. I mean, before Kyler Murray, the previous 15 of 16 quarterbacks to face the Commanders have gone over this mark, including Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones. They were averaging 2.7 passing TDs per game, including 7 straight at FedEx Field, averaging 3. So for 0.5 units, I think it's worth the risk at plus 170 to play this trend. Honestly, if you were looking at the game for Deshaun last week, he was under duress a lot, but he looked to play his best game, and Kyle mentioned it. He may have his most healthy offensive line thus far, so that's encouraging. And then my final play, not to give you guys a mouthful here, sorry, is we're going to do Dorrance Armstrong over a half sack.
What do you know about Dorrance Armstrong?
What do I know about Dorrance?
Former Cowboy, bro.
I know Dorrance is a former Cowboy. You may not.
He's nice. Dan Quinn likes him. That's why he's there.
Yes, I know Dorrance is nice, and he's actually having a career year thus far. Thus far, he has a career year in terms of PFF grade, a career high in terms of pressure rate as well. And something I noticed when looking at the market last year in terms of sacks is that sacks tend to come in bunches for players. Armstrong, through his first 3 games, was due to break out in terms of sacks, had just 0.5. And then last week against the Cardinals, bam, 1.5 sacks. So now he's in a spot against Cleveland where this guy, Deshaun Watson, has been sacked 19 times through 4 games, an average of 4.75. I know Conkin and Wills may be on the field for the first time together, but they need to build that chemistry back up and shake the rust off. Meanwhile, right guard Wyatt Teller, he remains on the IR, and this line is still banged up to all hell. So I think that Dorrance Armstrong is about to heat up. I don't know the odds for this yet, but I'm assuming we're about to get this at about plus 125, plus 150 when that drops. So yeah, those are my 3 plays for this.
I like the first 2. I don't know about the Dorrance one.
You don't know about my boy? I mean, dude, they've allowed 3+ sacks weekly. There's no Clarence Farrell in the game. I think Dorrance.
They allow sacks because the offensive line's been hurt.
I don't think. I mean, yes, they allowed sacks because the offensive line's been hurt, but also Deshaun Watson's the 3rd highest time to throw. So it's not just the offensive line.
He's a patient guy.
What happened?
He's a patient man.
Yeah, obviously he's very patient, but I don't think the new personnel makes him less patient.
All right. So I do like that first. I like that Deshaun Watson over 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus 170. That's a sneaky one. I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not a super rat, he hits it.
Yeah, but I haven't bet this one yet. I would love to get a 4.5, and I'm in. Like, say less. I mean, this would be one where like I'm on Cleveland. That's my pick for the game. If Saturday night, usually I'm up pretty much all night, and I'm finalizing things. And this is the kind of game where it's like, if it's still at 3.5 on Saturday night, I'll throw a few dollars on it. Why? But like, if it's not one of my absolute favorite bets of the day, why rush it? I mean, maybe I could get stuck with a 3, okay, but it seems like most of the action's coming in on the other side. I saw a couple things on Twitter saying that the Commanders were the most public bet on the board. Now take those kind of tweets with a grain of salt, honestly. But if the line drops from 3.5 to 3 in between now and Saturday night, with everyone hammering Washington, I lost a half point, but it would also confirm that I might have this one right as well. So yeah, I'm on Cleveland. We'll see if I'm ended up with money on Cleveland plus 3.5. Maybe end up with a Cleveland plus 4 if possible. We'll see.
Esthot just asked, how do you even get a quarter of a sack? So they set the line at a quarter of a sack. So you either get a half sack, because guys could get a half a sack, like they could split a sack, or you could get a full sack. Sometimes what they'll do is guys who just keep racking up the sack, they'll move you from a half sack guy to a full sack guy. I mean, Nate Irvine basically explains it right there.
Yeah, because you can get over you can't get a quarter sack, S-Dot, but that's so a half sack cashes the bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So kind of like how you would be like over a half passing touchdown. You can't get a half passing touchdown, but that's there where 1 is a win.
Yeah.
That's saying it so a half sack is a win.
Honestly, that thing is clutch, because when you get that half sack, sometimes you're like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, that counted? That counted? All right.
Someone goes, I love sack talk.
Hey,
All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., live show, college football. We got 29 or 30 games lined up. If you want, I already have a bunch of bets open, but on Friday night, I'm doing an all-nighter. I'll be placing bets for college football Saturday, posting them up. If you want to join the group or whatever, no big deal. Everyone, see you in the morning.
Stay blessed.
Wait. People are saying you keep ending the stream early. Do you want to, wait 5 seconds?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I'm not ending it early, guys.